How's it going today, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day so far. So in this video today, I'm going to be showing you how to live with a $0 mortgage or how to live for free. And no, I'm not going to be telling you guys to go exercise squatters' rights and find a disheveled old camp in the woods and move into it for 7 years or however many years you need to then own that residence. I'm going to be showing you guys how to actually live for free by purchasing a multifamily property as opposed to doing what most people do, which is going out there and buying a single family house. Now, most people, when they do this style of video, they use arbitrary numbers, but I'm actually in the process of doing exactly this and being an owner-occupant. So I'm literally going to be showing you guys my exact numbers when it comes to how much I'm spending on a property, what my closing costs are, what my down payment is, and all of that. So if you guys enjoy that transparency, all that I ask is that you hit that like button and share this with a friend who might be interested in learning about this as well. But first of all, we have to start off by talking about what it is that most people do. And most people don't go out there and buy a multifamily property. Number one, they either typically just rent for their entire lives or for the most of their duration of their 20s or 30s. Or number two, they'll go out there and they will buy a single family house. So the first thing I want to show you guys is why this is pretty much a guaranteed way to lose money. So on average, houses are selling for about $300,000 right now in the United States. And there's typically two different ways that people will go about purchasing their first home. Number one, if they have a sizable amount of money to put down, they will go the conventional route and put 20% down as their down payment. So that's going to be a down payment of $60,000 plus your closing costs and your taxes. So you're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of probably $70,000 to $75,000 of a down payment to buy a house through a conventional mortgage. And so by doing that and putting about $60,000 down plus your closing costs, that's going to give you a monthly mortgage payment of $1,600 per month, which includes your mortgage as well as your escrow taxes and your homeowner's insurance. Now, the advantage of going this route as opposed to the FHA route is that you do not have to pay PMI or any kind of mortgage insurance, and that could be multiple hundreds of dollars per month if you are in fact paying for PMI. Now, option number two, if you don't, let's say, have $75,000 laying around to buy a house, is to take advantage of that FHA loan and put down that 3.5% as opposed to 20%. So on that $300,000 mortgage, that would be a down payment of 3.5% or $10,500 plus your closing costs. So probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $25,000 of out-of-pocket expenses to close FHA on a single family house. Now, the big downside to this is that now, because you have such little equity in that property, you do have PMI and it's a lot more expensive. So your mortgage payment just went from $1,600 a month to $2,050, an increase of $450 per month by going the FHA route over the conventional. Now, as far as this goes, as far as owning a single family house, it pretty much sucks. Yes, you do have the privacy. Yes, you do have, your own driveway and you don't have to worry about your neighbors or anybody bothering you for the most part. But other than that, financially, it is one of the worst decisions you can make next to renting for your entire life. And so just to summarize quick here, these are the main problems with owning a single family house. Number one, there are absolutely zero tax deductions and zero tax breaks. You can't write off any of your expenses associated with your house. You can't write off depreciation. There are literally no tax benefits to owning a single family home. Second of all, if you want an appealing mortgage and you don't want to be paying hundreds of dollars a month in PMI, you have to go the conventional route, and it's going to be about $60,000 to $70,000 minimum out-of-pocket expenses for a house that's around $300,000. The third problem with single-family real estate is that if you do decide that you don't want to put all this money into the house and you want to go the FHA route, your mortgage is going to be a hell of a lot more expensive, $450 more in this specific case. And then the main issue with doing exactly this is that there is zero income potential with this house. Sure, maybe you could rent out the spare rooms in your house for an Airbnb, but 99% of us don't want strangers living in our home. So you literally have $0 of income potential with a single family house, and every single month it's going to be costing you anywhere from $1,600 to $2,050 per month in this case, with no income potential, no tax breaks whatsoever. And that is why most people who fall in this situation end up being what is called house broke, which is where your monthly housing payment literally eats up all of your income and you have absolutely no money. So what I decided to do instead was to patiently wait on the sidelines, renting for a while until the perfect property came up for me. So yes, I have been renting for the last year and a half. I've literally been throwing money out the window in the form of paying rent, but I knew that I wanted to find the perfect property where the numbers just made sense to me. And if you are somebody who's looking to follow this route and follow this strategy and have a $0 mortgage, patience is going to pay off for you. You know, I probably looked at a dozen different properties, or at least ran the numbers on them, and they just didn't make sense for me. And then this property came up and it was a screaming buy. Now I actually am going to be living there as an owner occupant, so I can't really show you guys pictures just because some people get a little bit weird on YouTube and I don't really want people to see the outside of my house. But what I am going to show you guys is the numbers and how much I'm going to be paying for the property, what my monthly payment is going to be, and how it'll ultimately be a $0 mortgage. Okay, so as far as the property goes, I found this house listed for sale by owner in the neighborhood of about $500,000. Now, right off the bat, people will think, okay, $300,000 mortgage versus $500,000 mortgage, you have to be out of your mind to buy a property that has a value of $500,000, give or take. But I'm going to show you guys why it actually, in this case, makes sense to take on a larger mortgage because of the income potential of this property. So we ended up settling on a price of $449,000, and I rolled in $10,000 of concessions towards my closing costs and taxes. And while I did have that money that I could, put in towards my closing costs, FHA loans are what you call cheap money. And you want to go ahead and take as much of that cheap money as possible because it is a very low interest rate. And a lot of people are not aware of this, but with an FHA loan, this could be anywhere from 1 unit to 4 units. You could buy a single family house or up to 4 units and qualify for this FHA financing. Now, you only get one shot with the FHA on your very first home purchase, so you don't want to waste it. And what I mean by that is don't go out there and buy a single family property with your FHA. In my opinion, which is what I've done, you want to wait until you have a really good property in front of you with income potential and really stretch out the maximum limit that you can with that FHA loan. So my closing costs on this property with my $10,000 of concessions rolled in is $22,515.46. And my mortgage payment is going to be $3,027.87. Now that includes my mortgage as well as the PMI, which is about $300 per month, but we'll talk about that in a minute, as well as taxes and insurance. So again, a lot of people looking at these numbers are going to say, okay, $1,600 per month to $2,000 a month for single family. Why would you ever spend over $3,000 per month on a mortgage for a multifamily property? I'm going to show you guys exactly why that is right now. So this right here is a general layout of what this property looks like. There's the main house, which is around 2,000 square feet. There is an apartment that is 900 square feet, give or take. And then there is a second apartment that is 600 square feet, all attached together on the main building. Now, not only is there that, there's also a cottage house on the property that is about 90% done that can't technically be a rental because of zoning, but it can be a short-term rental or an Airbnb. And then fifth and finally, there is a garage on the property that also has the potential to be rented out. So now what I'm going to do is show you how this $3,000 mortgage turns into $0 when you consider the fact that it's going to be offset by your potential rental income on this property. So first of all, right off the bat, this apartment here, the 900 square foot apartment, is going to rent for about $1,100 per month, coming off of the cost of your mortgage. Second of all, the second apartment is going to rent for around $800 again, coming off of your overall mortgage cost. So right off the bat here, just with these 2 apartments, that's $1,900 per month of rental income, bringing your mortgage cost down to just a little bit over $1,100 as far as how much of that cost you are paying for. But now we get into the fun part, and that is the fact that there are 2 additional properties or buildings that have income potential. So particularly the carriage house or the guest house there is very interesting to me because where I live and where I'm buying this property, there is a huge draw for tourism in 2 months out of the year for the horse racing track. Now, during that track season, you can do short-term track rentals, and that is allowed based on the zoning. And so in that 2-month span, you could rent this property out for around $6,000 for a little 500 to 600 square foot carriage house. Now, yes, I still need to refurbish it and finish it up. It's about 90% done, but once that is complete, that is about $6,000 for a 2-month span, or if you divide it out across the entire year, it averages $500 per month. And then 5th and finally, we have this garage. The garage also has a loft in it, and you have the potential to rent that space out, and that should rent for around $250 per month. So all in all here, looking at this property, looking at the 2 apartments, plus that short-term rental for 2 months out of the year, divided out across the year, plus the rental for the garage, this right here would be my cost on that mortgage. But we are forgetting one last thing here, and that is the fact that that track season rental is only for 2 months out of the year, and the other 10 months, I can do an Airbnb in that cottage. So I went ahead and looked at some numbers, and it looks like the average Airbnb occupancy rate is around 40%. But I like to be extremely conservative with my numbers, and so I'm going to assume a 10% occupancy rate. So at a 10% occupancy rate, that means that about 3 days out of every month, you have somebody in that particular rental, and this will fetch about $125 per night. So on the low end, the lowest end possible at 10% occupancy, that is an additional $375 per month. And this again is just for the other 10 months out of the year when I don't have that track season rental in there, so it's not going to be for the entire year. But it's a range of anywhere from $375 on the low end to up to $1,500 on the high end, depending if it's a 10% to 40% occupancy rate throughout the rest of that year. And again, it's only going to be for 10 months, not for 12 months out of the year. But I think you're starting to see here how you go from a $3,000 mortgage all the way down to a $0 mortgage. And yes, there are going to be some headaches associated with doing this, okay? First of all, you're gonna have to manage an Airbnb, you're gonna have to manage tenants, you're gonna have neighbors, and you may have some issues here and there with that. But when you look at the numbers of paying $0 for a 2,000 square foot house on a multifamily property versus $1,600 to $2,000 out of pocket for a single family house, there is no question in my mind that a multifamily property is a better investment, and there's pretty much no case for calling this right here a good investment. And again, this doesn't even factor in any of the write-offs associated with multifamily real estate, the depreciation, the tax benefits, and so there are so many other benefits to owning real estate. Now, not every property out there is going to look exactly like this. Like I said, I've been looking for about a year and a half. I've been analyzing the numbers on at least a dozen properties over the last year and a half, looking at different ones in a very specific location because I knew where I wanted to buy a property and I was waiting for the right one to come up. So you don't want to jump on the very first property out there. The very first property I looked at, the numbers didn't make sense, but I was really wanting to find the right property. I almost went for it, but I held off and I waited for the right one to come along, and that's exactly what I recommend that you guys do. I want to circle back now to the PMI because a lot of people will be wondering why I didn't do the conventional route here and do 20% down on this property to have a lower mortgage and not pay the PMI. And my argument is PMI is definitely, a waste of money, but if I'm not paying for it, I'm not going to worry about it. And I would rather have my cash on the sidelines for another real estate investment or a stock market investment or somewhere else that I can earn a return on my money rather than avoiding PMI, especially if I'm not the one paying for it. But anyways, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of being, an owner-occupied real estate investor and having a $0 mortgage? I would love to hear what you guys think. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, drop a like if you haven't already, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.